Hey everyone, it's Mari. Welcome to the Badbettyknits podcast. I am coming to you from Raleigh, North Carolina, and this is a podcast about the things that I am knitting and working on. And it's been a while. And usually when people say that, they're like, I'm so sorry, I'm coming back. And I'm not going to do that because this is supposed to be for fun and whatever. Also, like, I only have 70 subscribers, so, you know, you guys probably haven't been waiting around for me a little bit, but life's been a little hectic. I had a big event at work at the beginning of April, so that took up a lot of time, and then like 2 days after that I left to go to San Francisco for a work trip. So I'm back now. I've got one event tomorrow, and then hopefully that should be it until like July, and I'll have a little bit of breathing room. So I'm really looking forward to that. The weather's getting nice here. I say that, you guys have already heard me complain about the North Carolina weather. It's already basically 80 degrees a lot of the time and too warm to wear knit things. So that's a bummer. Like, I wish I had, my husband actually asked me the other day if I had enough days in the year to wear all the shawls that I've been knitting. And I was like, no. I said, that still doesn't mean you can take them all. He was bummed. But I said, you can, I'm happy to share them so you can wear them and we can get some good wear out of them. So beautiful day. It's nice Saturday. I'm just taking a little time to chat with you guys because it's been a while, and I have some fun things to show off this time. We can start with what I'm wearing. So as you may notice, I'm wearing a cardigan. This is a pattern that I test knit. If you remember the last podcast, I kind of showed you the yarn and said this is a little bit of a secret. I'm not really supposed to show it. Still kind of not supposed to show it, but I just finished it and I need to show it off. So again, 70 subscribers, no one's gonna like blow the lid off of this thing, I don't think. So this is the Amarillo, yep, cardigan, and it is by Paula Wisniewska. At some point I'll try and provide a link when it's up. I think it might be up in like June. But so this is a fingering weight cardigan, and it is knit with this is Dream in Color. It's in a monthly color club, I think, that I bought at the Salty Sheep in Swansboro. I think it's like an August color. It's like August Pop or something like that. But so it's kind of this grayish blue with lots of like really vivid color speckles in it. So I had 3 skeins of that, and then this is Plumbery by Black Sheep Dye Works, I believe. So I'm going to stand up in a minute so you can see more of the detail. On the front, just kind of a, you know, simple raglan cardigan, and then she did include some really awesome little details. So if you can see on the sleeve here, there's a little bit of lace. I guess my skin's either super pale, and or hopefully you can see a little better than I can on the camera, where it opens up. So it's got a sleeve detail that goes all the way down, and that's obviously on both sleeves. And then the back, so if you can see, hopefully, I can't see you guys, so yeah, I think you can see most of it. So this has a beautiful lace panel on the back. It's kind of similar to what's on the arms. I'll put a picture of it up so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So this was a test knit, and I had 3 skeins of the Dream in Color, and I wasn't sure if it was going to make it, so that was why I actually decided to do it the 2-tone. I love how it came out. I think it looks beautiful. I like that it just has so many different colors, but this is a color that'll go with a lot of things that I wear, and it pulls out some of the more reddish pink colors in the yarn, and I really liked how it worked for the lace. You know, I think particularly with a speckled yarn, doing a big lace panel like that can kind of get lost. So I felt like that was a really good way to pull it out. So I'm really pleased with how it went. You may notice it's kind of a cropped sweater. Comes down to about here. This is like the year of the fat lady crop sweaters, especially for me. So this is a really good length for me actually, because you know, most of my dresses have kind of that fit and flare. So it actually will work really well with a lot of my dresses, and again, having the multicolor, I think it will pair well, and it's 3/4 length sleeves. So that is definitely a hopefully versatile piece of knitwear for me. I think I knit the size 54. Let me see what she has. So she has up to a sizes 1 to 7, and that goes from 32.7 inches to 55. So I knit the biggest size. And yeah, it fits really well. Like, a lot of the times I'll end up knitting my sweaters with negative ease, even if they're meant to have like an inch or two of positive ease, or sometimes my gauge is off and it accommodates for negative ease, which is usually fine because I prefer to have my sweaters more fitted. With this one though, being a cardigan, I was a little worried about gaping because I tend to wear them closed, and so obviously I wanted to make sure that my gauge was on. I knit it on a size 7, I think, 6 or 7. I don't remember now. It was a 6 or a 7, I'm not sure which. But so it was really fun. This is actually the first cardigan I've ever knit, and I won't say it will be my last, but I will definitely say it probably for a long time is going to be the last one that I knit flat. I would be open to doing them if they were steeked. But the reason for that is it feels like it takes an eternity longer when you're going knit across and purl back, and it may have been additionally complicated by the fact that I was essentially working with 3 balls of yarn because I had you know, the first of this color was going across, and then I had to I guess it was intarsia, intertwine it with the plumbery, and then intertwine that with the next ball, and then come back and do it all again. So the combination of lace and intarsia and multiple balls of yarn was a little tedious. I love how it came out, but I don't know that I would do it again if I had to do it that way. But I'm happy with how it has turned out for sure. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about it. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm really excited to show it off. Unfortunately, it's about to be like 90 degrees here, so that usually means that it's going to be a little difficult to wear. I'll wear it for like 5 minutes in the morning. I was so excited to wear it today because it was like kind of cool this morning. I have the window open and it's already like, I'm a little sweaty already. So it's not a podcast with me unless I mention being sweaty, I guess. So this may actually come off. But yeah, so that's a big accomplishment, and it's one of those things that's a little weird because, you know, I usually show you guys what I've been working on, and I didn't get to do any of that progress with you. And so this being a test knit had a deadline of April 12th, and this being my second test knit that I have not made the deadline, I'm realizing I probably just shouldn't test knit things. It kind of makes that part not fun because you're like, I've got to get this done on time to give feedback to the designer. So the benefit to me of test knitting is getting to do something early. The benefit with this one was that this is a designer who's trying to be more size inclusive, and so she needs people in the larger sizes to knit it. But the issue that's been brought up a lot with these discussions around fat and size inclusive patterns is that, you know, essentially compared to like your smallest size, I'm knitting 2 sweaters. So what seems like a breeze for some people to get done feels like a slog for me, and probably seems like a slog to the designer. So that is actually one of the reasons why I knit it cropped. Again, I'm happy that it's cropped. That's a good fit for me. But if I'd had to do another 10 inches on the body, like, we'd be here till July. So, and plus it's just more to my liking, and I think it worked okay for the designer. She mainly wanted to know if the arms fit well, you know, and for me, my main feedback to her was the way it's knit, there's like, you know, raglan increases, and then about like, I don't know, halfway or 3/4 of the way down, you stop increasing for the sleeves, but you continue increasing for the body and the back and the neckline. So you're doing it here versus like before, you're doing it here and here. And so when I got to that part, I was trying to figure out what the difference was and why she kind of switched to doing less increases. And when I realized that it was to not increase the arm anymore, I was like, I'm just going to keep doing that because this is written for an 18-inch bicep. I have a 19-inch bicep. I think I added maybe 6 additional increases, so 12 stitches. So I think that gave me another like inch and a half. And it fits really well. Like, it's not tight. Like a lot of the times, I mean, you can always tell that things are stretching on me a little bit. But like I have other sweaters where like the arms tend to be tight because I haven't really learned to accommodate for bigger arms yet. I just go by the pattern. And so, this was the first time where I kind of said, no, like I've looked at the schematic and said, okay, my arm is bigger than that. I probably can give myself a little bit, I'd say it's 0 ease. It's not positive ease, but it's also not negative ease. And, it does have the lace in it, so that will help because it can open up a lot, but I just was really happy to do that. And so I told her, if you want to add some helpful hints for people of larger sizes, you could say, continue on, if you want to add extra width or whatever in your arm, like go ahead and, continue doing the increases as stated at the beginning. And so it did affect how I did my decreases. I think I did more. I did, but again, like also my arm down here is bigger probably than what it was stated anyway. So I just kind of went till I got to the right point and felt comfortable with it and just tried it on as I went. So I'm not sure if I got to her measurement or not, but I'm happy with it. So I guess that's kind of the point. So again, reasons not to ask me to test knit things. Unless you give extra time for fat folks, then I'm probably not going to meet your deadline. And I'm probably going to edit your pattern because, I want things to be the way I want them to be. And then, if that's a problem. I mean, I didn't change anything material. I didn't change anything with the lace on the arms or the back, but just the fit a little bit I adjusted. So, yeah. So this is my Amarello cardigan. So keep an eye out for it. I think, again, it will be coming out in June. Definitely a nice, nice spring, early fall, depending on where you live. Cardigan, great for work, I think. Yeah, I don't think I'll be knitting another one, unfortunately, but I'm definitely happy to have this one. So that's my first finished object. My second finished object, I feel like I'm super accomplished, you guys, because I have sort of knocked some things out. And I think that was partially like going off of, work, being busy and things like that. It just helped me feel like I had some control, I guess, of life. And then I went on my trip and I took like a bunch of stuff and I was like, I'm gonna finish all this crap because I'm so tired of having like so many different things that are half done. Because you know how it goes, you start something and then you're like, oh, this part's boring, I'm gonna start something else, and then suddenly you're like, I have 80,000 projects. So I finished my Carmel Pine. So there's no chance this is gonna fit in the frame. Can you see it? It's so long. The tail is crazy long. I'll put a picture in here if I remember. So yeah, so this is an interesting pattern. So again, if you watch past episodes, you kind of know I've talked about the design element. So it's knit as a triangular shawl from here to the tip, and then this side was cast off, and then you continue knitting straight like on a bias from here. So then you do more striping, and then you have more eyelet section. Oops. And then you get to the tail. So, and it's one of those ones that like, it doesn't seem like it should be as long as it is, but because it's knit on the bias, it goes just kind of wild. And I think the last time you guys saw it, I think I was maybe around here somewhere. I had a progress keeper on it, but I took it off when I blocked it, obviously. So my only complaint about it is I haven't figured out how to wear it yet because the tail on the one side is pretty short. But then I have more tail. So I guess this is it. Like, I mean, really and truly, this is probably how it would be worn, but there's some part of my brain that feels like because it has a point, the point needs to be showing. This looks really good, actually. I'm happy with that from what I can see on the camera. But yeah, so it's just, this is really cozy. It's nice and fluffy. Again, the yarns for this is the Blackberry Ridge in Crisp Air, I think. And this one is Wildfire by Hooker's Corner. They're both superwash sock weight yarns. I used one full skein of the Wildfire colorway and almost all of this. I think I have like maybe 20 grams left. And then I broke into the second skein, but I have probably 90 to 95% of it left. So this is one that was on my 2019 Make 9, and I'm really happy that it's done. It was fun to knit. This was a good one because, you know, it kind of gave me something to do in between, especially with this when I was getting tired of like stockinette stitch flat. this was something that I could knit and kind of have garter. And then I had just like sort of this simple eyelet pattern every now and then. And I like the stripes a lot. I have another shawl that has stripes, and I thought it was the stripes that were really what was making me not enjoy doing it. And I realized I think it's the yarn, because the yarn on that one is kind of it's just not my favorite. It's got a lot of guard hairs in it, and so it just feels kind of insubstantial, and I don't know, I haven't decided. I might end up frogging it, but anyways, so yeah, so this is my second finished object for the month, I guess, of April. And I finished all this stuff kind of very quickly together, and this was this one down here. I didn't talk about these, but so I just got buttons yesterday, so I just sewed my buttons on, and I actually put the buttons a lot closer together. And the reason for that, so the whole thing, if you knit it full size, has 7 buttons. Mine has 7 buttons. So what I realized was, especially because mine was cropped and it was going over my boobs, I figured I didn't want it to gape open, so I put the buttonholes a lot closer together. And I might do this if I knit cardigans in the future, like, or anything. Like, I really like having more buttons than less, because, you know, when you're a big girl and you want something to stay closed, like, you know, you don't want it to gape and like pull and all that. And like, you know, this fits relatively well, so it's not, you know, super tight or anything, but yeah. But I got these buttons online. They're really cute. They're like raspberry, and they're just flat with a post in the back, I guess. I detest sewing buttons on. Like, I feel like if I unbutton this, they would be like up the button band. So don't bring me your buttons to sew on. I could probably repair one button, but sewing on multiple ones in a fashion such that they would be straight is not a strong suit of mine. So don't bring me your buttons. But so yeah, so finished objects for April, and this one was kind of a surprise. Like, again, I didn't have a plan to knit this, but wanted to do it in order to encourage a designer to be more size inclusive. The challenge with test knitting is, like, there's more people with the discussion about size inclusivity that are starting to finally design for better sizes, and they really do need people to test knit for them, to tell them, like, yes or no, your grading is working, especially for those that are taking the time to work out how to grade, particularly for bigger bodies. Because a lot of people can just grade up, I guess, the way that they would from an extra small to an extra large. However, when you do that, once you get to a 2X and above, you know, so suddenly you start having, you know, armholes that are like down here, and things that don't really aren't flattering and aren't really the right fit. So I do really appreciate that people are taking the time to ask fat folks to knit their patterns and try them out and give feedback. And I would love to do more. I just don't think it does not bring me the amount of joy that I wish it did. So I'm gonna probably say no for, I mean, not that anyone's asking me, but, you know, I will probably try to avoid offering to test knit anything for a while. But that's okay. I'm just not a fast enough knitter, and my size is, I don't think I'm a slow knitter, but I think it's truly that, like, you know, my sweaters are 400 to 500 stitches around, and if yours is 200, then I'm truly knitting 2 to 2.5 sweaters for year one. So that makes a big difference. So yeah, adding to my enormous shawl collection slash scarf, I guess. Maybe what I need to tell people when they ask me to knit them a scarf is I'll be like, sure, I'm gonna knit it as a shawl, just so you're aware. But it will be a scarf, essentially. It'll be better than a scarf and less painful for me to knit. So that is what I may do from now on. But those are my finished objects. I'm really pleased with them. I don't have them up on Ravelry yet, but hopefully I will get them shortly. Sorry about that. I've never had a call come in while I've been recording before. Apparently that shuts your recording off. It's the perfect storm of things happening all at once. So I'm gonna take this off just because it is a little warm, but it's very cozy. I'm bummed that basically now is the time of year where every time I knit something, it's like, awesome, I'll see you in 5 to 6 months. So now that those have been done, I've been returning to some works in progress, because my next thing that I really want to get done is my B Street pullover. So I've been making some good progress on that, and the thing that kills me is, like, you know, in thinking about how long this felt like it took to take, given that it was mostly stockinette. I mean, it has a panel of lace, but mostly stockinette, but the fact that I was having to knit it flat felt like it took an eternity, versus this, I have some yarn stashed in here somewhere, so hopefully it won't fall out. This is lace all around in the body, and it doesn't feel nearly as I don't know, it doesn't take as much patience to knit. I don't get bored with it as much, and I think it's partially because I get into a rhythm of it. So this yarn you've seen before, this is Antidote by the Periwinkle Sheep. I think the base is Delirium. I got this at Maryland Sheep and Wool last year. Actually, no, I take that back. I got this at the Knot House pop-up shop when we went for Maryland Sheep and Wool last year, and it's gorgeous. And the funniest thing was that I was at Knit Night the other night, and one of the ladies that is there is from Albany, and she's moved down here to be closer to family. And she said, someone asked me what yarn I was using, and I told her, and she's like, I know that woman. And she was like, can I take a picture of you knitting with it to send to her? And I was like, yeah, of course. So she sent it to her and said, you know, someone's using your yarn, and so that was cool. I'm sure it's really nice to see it out in the wild, and I love it. Like, I'm super excited to have this, but again, it's gonna get done probably about the time when I just have to put it away for a while. But so again, I'm apparently kind of a glutton for punishment when it comes to yarn management. So I've been alternating skeins on the body, and if you can see that little tail there, the little stitch marker that you can see is about how much I've gotten done since the last time I showed it. I've got a little yarn tail, so I've been alternating skeins on the bottom, but then at one point I thought maybe I'll work on the sleeve for a little bit in order to kind of speed things up. So I have knit, but then I realized that meant that I had 4 balls of yarn attached at all times, which got a little complicated. So when I ran out of my first ball of yarn on the body, I just kind of put, and the other one's small, it's like this big right now, so I just kind of tucked it in here, and I've been working on the arm. So I think it was probably, I don't know, maybe around here, no, let's see, I probably have knit this much, I think, in the last couple of days, so that's been nice. Again, stockinette, just your standard decreases. One of the things that has been good with this one, so I'm doing 2 things that I learned about from Grace at Babel's Traveling Yarn. The first thing is that I'm doing helical knitting while alternating skeins, so that basically means it's barber pole striping. So, you know, rather than switching yarn every time you get to the same spot and having it carry up the sleeve, it means that where the yarn is changing moves around the sleeve, and so that is kind of keeping it from having a line, although it has given me some weird spots because I think I pulled, and so the tension is really tight in a particular spot, and that's kind of weird. I'm hoping that's going to block out. But the other thing that I'm doing, I was very kindly, I won a set of ChowGoo interchangeable needles from Riza Knits for being a subscriber on her newsletter, so that was awesome. And so I just got those pretty recently, and so I've had interchangeables in the past, but they were like before interchangeable, especially metal, became a thing. And so this is the first pair I have of ChowGoo, and they're my most favorite needles. So one of the things that Grace has talked about, and I don't know if this is particularly if you're a tight knitter or what, but it was to use different size needles. So this needle is a size 3, and this is a size 5. I think it's a 3, yeah. So basically what I do is on the left hand needle is the smaller one, because you're knitting off of that, and then the new stitches are going onto the properly sized needle for your gauge. So you're getting the same size, and this only works obviously if you're in the round, because if I was knitting this flat, then you'd have one row that's a size, you know, the gauge of a size 3, and one row that was a gauge size, one row that was knit at the gauge of a size 5 needle. There we go. So you might be wondering, why does this matter at all? And the big thing is, it just makes moving your stitches much easier. Like, because if it was the size 5 needle, then you're kind of having to like get it, you know, these have a tapered end, so you're pulling it up over the tapered end and then pushing it at the same width it is. So if you have a smaller one, they just move a lot faster. And that's helpful, because if you want to be a faster knitter, one of the things you can do is just kind of preload your stitches by pushing them all up here, and then as you're knitting, they kind of just advance themselves a little bit, and then you push again. And so I think it does truly help with knitting to kind of make things go faster, regardless whether it's faster or not. It's just nice not to have to fight the other needle to move my stitches on. So that in and of itself is a lifesaver for me, and I'll probably be doing that. The only problem I have is with the ChowGoo. They have a small and a large set. So what that means is, excuse me. What that means is that up to a size 7, they work with their smaller caliber needles, I guess. Like all the cables and needles have to correspond, and then once you get 8 and above, they become the larger caliber. And what I'm talking about when I say caliber, what I mean is like where the needle and the cable connect. So like I couldn't use a small needle and a large cable. I don't think. There may be some sort of an adapter out there, but as far as I know right now, they don't work 1-to-1. So the problem is that like I have something that I'm knitting. Oh, there's a hat that I have I'm knitting on a size 9 in linen stitch, and so that tends to get really tight. So like pushing the stitches on is kind of a pain. So what I'd love to do is knit that using a size 9 on the right hand needle and a size 7 on the smaller needle, and I can't because 7s are smalls and 9s are larges. So maybe there's an adapter out there somewhere that I'm unaware of, but that would be nice. It's ChowGoo, if you have one, or if someone knows of one, let me know. Because maybe I would finish that hat one day if ever that happens. Right now it's just kind of a pain because it just sits there and it's tight and I don't really like knitting on it. So yeah, so B Street's coming along. I hope I'm gonna work on it some more this afternoon. I'm hoping to have the one sleeve done, and I think once the sleeve is done I'll probably try and finish the body. Although I'm wondering if I should do the other sleeve just in case. I shouldn't run low on yarn. I have 6 skeins of it, but I just, you know, you get into that panic of like, is that gonna be a problem? And so I'm wondering if I should maybe do the other sleeve first. I'm not really sure. We'll see. Anyways, the goal there is not to be having 14 balls of yarn going on the same project. And when I say 14, I mean 4. So that's going to be the thing I work on a lot. I have been sort of dream knitting some things and thinking about what I want to do next, and trying very hard to like not do any of them until I get through some things. I have knit a little bit more on my nurtured sweater on the sleeve, but it went from like this big to like this big, so I don't know if that's really worth showing. I think once I get this sweater done, I have another sweater that I've knit probably like this much of the back, so I kind of wonder if I should do that next. But the allure of the nurtured is that it's cropped, and you're knitting the sleeves first, and so it's kind of one of those like maybe it won't take so long. We'll see. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next. Anyways, the other thing that I've worked on, this is kind of my travel out of the house knitting. This is just a hat that I've had. Oh, needles. Some of the yarn is coming off the needles. Let's catch all that up. Okay, here we go. So not super impressive, but so this is knit with some of the Halloween yarn from Yarn Cafe Creations. I want to say it's Poltergeist. This is something that I knit the brim. I think I talked about this last time. So I knit the brim when I was at Disney last September, and then it kind of languished for a while because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with the body. I had sort of a pattern in mind that I was thinking about maybe designing, but the amount of stitches that I cast on didn't quite work with it, and then I tried it on some bigger needles. I just didn't love it. So one of the things I really enjoy having in the wintertime is these sock head type hats where they're just knit with fingering, you know, yarn, and I really like this color, so I wanted something that would kind of show off the color. So what I'm doing is basically just an alternating eyelet pattern. So I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can tell pretty well there. So it's just got like, you know, some eyelets in it, so nothing big. I feel like these are just kind of interesting hats to use for trying out textures and things like that. I mean, if you don't get too technical, then it's not a really big deal, but like I have a couple of Barbara Walker's stitch dictionaries, so this just gives me an opportunity to like look through those and say like, oh, I'd like something like that. And then I like them to be slouchy, so that's the only thing. It's got to be something that's not like super tight or stretchy, probably in the body. So yeah, this is just kind of was good for when I was at my conference and I wanted something to kind of take around. Also good if I just need a break and it's basically just, you know, knitting in the round, on and on and on. So I probably have 4 to 6 more inches to do on this before I decrease and bind off. So that'll get done at some point. That's going to be kind of in my purse, just as travel knitting for the future. So what else has been going on? I have a couple things to show you, but today I don't usually date these because it usually takes me a week to like get them edited and up. Today is local yarn store day, so happy local yarn store day to all the local yarn store owners and all the people shopping and supporting their local yarn stores. I don't know if I'm gonna have a chance to get to mine, but I've definitely purchased some things from them relatively recently. And so one of the most exciting things that happened for my yarn store recently was that they had a trunk show during the Triangle Yarn Crawl, and they had Miss Babs there. So Miss Babs is one of my favorite dyers, and you can't buy it anywhere. You usually have to buy it online or at a show. And the only show that I mean, she does it Maryland Sheep and Wool, but I don't think I even got near her booth because it was just kind of a madhouse. And her stuff can vary so much, particularly in the variegated, so I'm always a little leery to buy anything other than tonal online, but I love seeing it in person, and so that was really fun that she was there, and we got to go poke around and kind of see what they had, and I was trying really hard not to buy anything, because I have a ton of sweater quantities. I didn't need any sweater quantities. I didn't have anything in mind where I needed like a specific color or skein, you know, to go with other speckled yarns. So I was not going to buy anything. And then I saw this thing that I have been trying to avoid buying for like the last year. So last year Casapinka came out with her Crown Mystery Shawl, Mystery Knit Along, that basically utilized minis from different desires, and Miss Babs did some really great sets. And so while I didn't really care about the Mystery Knit Along, for reasons that I think are probably already clear, I'm not great with mystery or surprise things. One of the samples that I've seen, it was knit in this, and it was freaking gorgeous. And so I was like, I'm getting that. So I bought this. This was my big splurge. So this is her Crown Wool set in Amalfi Coast. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's got 12 sets of her Yummy 2-ply toes. So that's 100% superwash merino wool. Total yardage is almost 1,600 yards. So I really like it because, as you can see, like there's this beautiful orange to yellow gradient, and then you get these sort of, you know, green, neutral blues. So I was really like, I've been looking at it and have been trying to talk myself out of buying it for ages and ages, and I just thought, I was like, I guess you're coming home with me. And if you haven't seen the Crown Wool's shawl, if I remember, I'll try and get a picture of it. And I haven't bought the pattern yet, but one of the things that's been interesting to me is that each section is knit in a different stitch pattern, I believe, and so I think that's really interesting. It gives you something that, like, even if I just started it and had it going for a while, and just said I'm gonna work on this every now and then, you know, if it took me a year, at least it would be something that, like, if I needed a break from a pattern that was a slog, you know, you can do something different and it'd be fun, and then you can kind of just put it down and say like, okay, we'll be back in a month or two. So that was fun, and I was like, every time I go in there, I'm like, damn it, I need to not buy things. And I've been doing pretty well lately, but that was one I just kind of broke down on. So the other fun thing was that after I went to the Miss Babs trunk show, I get a call from Michelle, the owner, and she's like, you won our Miss Babs raffle. And I was like, okay. So I guess if you bought something, you got entered into a raffle. So I went and picked it up before I went to California, and so I won this. So this is her Yowza mini trio. So it's 3 skeins that are 200 yards each. You can kind of see it. So this is Haystack, which I think is this one. Spring flowers and sugar, I think. I haven't, I should probably look. Yep, that was right. Okay, so Haystack, spring flowers, and sugar. So I love the set. It's gorgeous. These are not really my colors. So this may become something for a gift for somebody. But I really like these sets that she does. And it's, you know, it's basically the equivalent of like a DK shawl, probably, something like that. So that was fun, you know, just to kind of win something. I feel like I've had more good luck with that stuff than usual lately, between that and winning the set of Chow Goo. So many thanks to Riza Knits who got that to me. And if you haven't seen these before, it kind of comes in this case that you can then, it has space for the next set as well, which maybe at some point I'll buy. But you can just stick these in here, and then all the needle, or the, excuse me, the cables and the other little things. I've already bought some longer cables for it, which I'm using to knit my B Street with. So that's been helpful. Normally honestly I kind of prefer to have fixed length, just so you have sort of dedicated needles, but with knitting sweaters and things that need magic loop, like, it's actually been kind of useful. And now that I've discovered that knitting with 2 different size needles is really awesome, maybe you'll see a lot more use in the future. So yeah, what else has been going on? So the other things that I've been sort of thinking about starting, I have the mini set that I showed last time that I actually put in a bag. I wound up the big skein, and all the minis are still just twisted, to do the, I think it was called the Under Rainbow, something like that, whatever pattern I talked about last time. And I took that with me to San Francisco thinking I was going to start it, and I didn't. So that one's kind of just like sitting in a bag on hold. The other thing that I've been thinking about knitting is a, Find Your Fade, there we go. So Find Your Fade by Andrea Mowry, which was really big, like, I don't know, a year ago. I mean, it's still big, she's always going to be big. But so that uses almost 1,600 yards of yarn. But the good thing is it's a fade, so that means that you're using different colors, and it's, I hope, a good way to use up scraps and partial skeins. So I've been trying to go through and look at what I have sort of wound up, because here's the thing I've recently worried about a lot. So if you wind a skein of yarn and then it sits in the ball, it's supposed to lose elasticity, which is not good for it, I guess. I mean, it's not good for it. So someone had mentioned that to me, and I was like, crap, I feel like I need to, because I went through a phase where, like, I had all this yarn and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I would skein it thinking I'm gonna make something, and then I'd kind of get started and realize I didn't want to do it, so I'd frog it. So I have a bunch of full skeins caked, and I want to do something with them. So even though they're not like something I'm really excited about, like, I kind of just want to work through some of that. And I suppose I could probably make socks if that was appealing, but I don't know, that's just not super appealing to me for whatever reason. But so I've been trying to come up with a fade for my scraps, and the unfortunate thing is I think the yardage requirements, so there's 7 colors. The first one is 20 grams, the second one is 40 grams, and then it goes 60, 65, 70, 80, and 50. So finding the right weight, like, I have a lot of stuff that I'd really like to use, but it's not enough yarn, or it's not enough yarn where it would fit. So now I'm looking at using some of the full skeins, which just means I'll end up having partial skeins afterwards. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I'm trying to figure out if I'm willing to do that or not. Yeah, so we'll see. It feels like that's an enormous shawl, and it's kind of shaped like the birds with feathers. So it's got that, it starts out like this, and then suddenly the center spine starts traveling, so it kind of comes out like a triangular. And like I said, I really like my birds of a feather shawl, and would definitely be happy to have another big one like that. I'm just not sure if I'm ready to put the time in on it, when maybe I could work on some other sweater projects, because I feel like summer's a really good time to work on sweaters, since you get it doesn't really matter how long it takes. You know, when you're knitting a sweater when it's cold out, it feels like you need to hurry as fast as you can because you want to be able to wear it before it stops being cold. At least I want to do that because, again, the winter lasts like 5 minutes down here. But I feel a lot less pressure doing it during the spring and summer. And for those of you that are like, it's too hot to knit during that time of year, well, we live in like the Arctic AC climate, so when you go inside places it's usually freezing. So it's actually sometimes cozier in the summer because I'm like under blankets trying to stay warm in my house. And while you might say that it would probably just make sense to turn my air conditioning down, you haven't met my husband, or I, again, sweaty person. So most of the time we like to keep it a little on the cooler side. So it's just one of those things that allows us to not feel so oppressed by the heat down here. So yeah, like I said, I've got some other sweaters going that I'd like to get moving on and finished, but at the same time the allure of something new is ever present. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but you will see it whenever I decide what it's going to be. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I really enjoyed it. It feels good to get back, and hopefully it won't take me forever to get this edited and up. No idea when I'll do the next one, whenever I feel like it and have some time. So I hope to see you guys soon. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, so that others can help find me. And I look forward to talking with you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.